Welcome back to Beyond the Classroom. This time we're exploring careers that blend with administrative skills and patient care. Medical assisting.
Yes.
So we have Christie Goertel back with us again to talk about medical assisting. Like she talked about in the first
Yeah,
episode, she has lots of programs under her belt.
I do. Yes.
So what is medical assisting and what kind of work do they actually do?
Sure. So, if you work as a medical assistant or a certified clinical medical assistant, you oftentimes are working in a doctor's practice. Usually, the medical assistant is the first person you see in the exam room. Once that person that comes out and calls your name when you're in the waiting room and brings you back to the exam room to say, "Hey, why are you here to see the doctor today?" and take some information in your vitals, that oftentimes is a medical assistant. It's a great job. It's a wonderful one if you have an interest in going into healthcare, but you're not maybe quite sure what in healthcare you want to do, and you want exposure to a lot of different things. Really, credentialing and requirements depend on the state. So, but in the state of Wyoming, you really don't need a license. You actually practice under your doctor's license that you work for. So, yeah. Fun story there. Yeah. But you do generally need to be certified. So we provide a 20-week training in medical assisting that ends with an externship experience and your NHA exam.
So how does that differ from a traditional healthcare degree? I'm not talking doctor, but how is it different?
Well, it's different in terms of the ability to get into it quicker. Like if you have an interest in being like a radiographer or a sonographer or going into any of those types of things, you're oftentimes at minimum going to need an associate's degree or more. So, medical assisting you can do in as little as 20 weeks and get placed pretty right away. So, if you're looking for quick entry into a profession that is growing and pays a pretty decent wage. It's a great starting point. However, there are medical assistants where they just love their job and they do it for their whole career. So it doesn't have to be just the starting point, but that is probably its primary differentiator than amongst anything else really in medical is patient care, but not necessarily having to have the years of education to before you can get out and start working.
So in less than 6 months, I can be out in the field earning a paycheck,
Yes.
as opposed to a minimum of 2 years for
Yep.
many of the other healthcare
Yes.
professions. And you mentioned pay. I mentioned paycheck. What's that look like? What's the range?
Sure. So in Wyoming, if you're just starting out, oftentimes you're somewhere between 17 and 21 an hour. It depends on where you're ending up, if you're at the hospital, clinics, or if you're at a smaller private practice. It's about 17 to 21 an hour to start. Um, but that can go up to 25 or 30, depending upon what over the years, depending upon what your skill set is. Um,
Mid 30s into the 60,000 range
yeah,
on 6 months of
possibly.
training.
Yep. Uh, a lot of that depends on what continuing ed you choose to do because you can add on to it's like anything else, right? You start entry level here and then you start learning other components or other aspects of the job. Eventually you could possibly, depending upon the clinic, you could become a clinic manager. So it depends on what your skill set is on that administrative side and what your goals are. So
What's your typical student look like? Do you have a typical student? Are they straight out of high school? Are they finding new careers?
we don't have a typical student, all of the above. We have a few that are straight out of high school that know they want to be in medical and they're just trying to get started in the field. We have some that have worked as CNAs for years. That's a certified nursing assistant. And they either for their job need to evolve into a medical assistant or just want a new change of pace. Oftentimes, when I have CNAs, their employer is paying for them to get their medical assisting certification because they can do more. Oftentimes, in most practices, they don't hire phlebotomists anymore. That'd be the person that pulls your blood for labs. Oftentimes, that's a medical assistant doing that position because a medical assistant can be a phlebotomist, but a phlebotomist cannot be a medical assistant.
Interesting. I know that LCCC offers phlebotomy, so I'm assuming that some of these medical assistants come back into other programs at some point?
They can. So phlebotomy is primarily provided at our Albany County Laramie campus. We don't provide phlebotomy here in Cheyenne because it's dovetailed into our medical assisting program.
Okay.
We want to give our students the most diverse and best outcomes in terms of being able to find employment. And so by giving them that higher credential, if they wanna be a phlebotomist, then they can go get a job with as a phlebotomist with their MA certification. There's just not a lot of phlebotomy jobs. Most of them are medical assisting jobs.
So as part of this 20-week program, they're learning to do blood
They
draws,
are.
and they're getting that
Yep.
certification.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So they get that as well. So, um, like I said, it's 20 weeks. Learn everything you need to know.
So you mentioned
Yeah.
externships. So what kind of hands-on field training, what's
Sure.
that look like?
So they get 80 hours. Once you've completed your classroom component, you get 80 hours in a clinical setting working with a preceptor. And so basically you're shadowing the first couple of days, a medical assistant generally, and you're connected with a mentor within that clinic. And then you get to spend 80 hours working as a medical assistant and doing all of the things that you've learned in class, hands-on in that clinic.
And this may seem like a well, duh kind of question, but what's the job market look like for medical assistants?
Oh, it's very good. Very good if you just go on the hospital's website and look at how many positions they have posted. Medical assistants don't tend to have a hard time finding work. Um, it's pretty good. Um, and it varies. I mean, you could end up working in a cardiology, or peds, or like just a pretty specialty specific group, or you can end up as a floater and where you get to go to all these different offices and practices and kind of check out and see. Um, it really is sky's the limit in terms of that entry level point and getting to learn all the different aspects of working in the medical industry.
And you've mentioned some of the certificates or some of the certifications
Mhm.
rather that the medical assisting students get. Are these nationwide certifications?
So every state governs medical assisting a little bit different. It's kind of true for really nursing and all of those different. So within the state of Wyoming, you do not need an associate's degree. However, in other states, you might be required to have associate's degree. They may accept your certification from Wyoming. They may not. It varies. I can tell you that we have had medical assistants come up from Colorado to take our training and have had no problem finding jobs in Colorado. Um, and in some states, they'll grandfather you in. So, for example, I've had people move to California, which does require an associate's degree, but I wrote a letter and just said, basically, this is what they went through, this is what we did, and they accepted it, and they were able to get employment in California. So, it varies. So, I tell students, if you want to leave Wyoming, I highly encourage you to research what the state you're looking to move to requires. We will do our best to help you, but our training is built for the state of Wyoming and it's not necessarily portable to the other 49. So, I always wanna give that disclaimer to people.
And I think that's good advice in general with anything you're studying for, right? Like you said, lawyers have to be certified, bar certified in the particular state
Mhm.
they're in.
Doctors as well,
Doctors,
nurses, all of it. Yep, teachers.
so doesn't matter what it is.
Yep.
Check check your if you're planning to move, if you know that that's in your future, double check what you're doing and make sure that your certifications are going to transfer. Um, once I get once I've decided that medical assisting I've hit a plateau, where do I go next?
Oh gosh. Well, with the LCCC offers a whole array of medical programs here on campus, everything from nursing, LPN, you can go into sonography, just the world's your oyster, right? You could go that route. We also offer a bachelor's degree in health administration here. So you do need to get your associate's degree. Our program is non-credit, but you can get credit for prior learning and move into other, but whether you want to do business classes or whatever that could be to your next step. Likely, if you want to move past medical assisting and you're going to have to add to your educational arsenal there. Our hope is if you're doing that, then now you have a better understanding of what you want to do and you can have a more targeted entry into that field as opposed to having to do an exploration piece and figure out what exactly you want to do.
It's fantastic. And kind of a question I forgot to ask, or a statement I forgot to make rather, is you mentioned you wrote a letter. So after these students graduate, we're still here for them, right?
Yes. Oh, yes. We're here to support however we can.
It's not like, okay, you've graduated.
Yep.
Goodbye.
Yep. Yep. If I have to send a detailed list of what we cover, what we do, most of that stuff I already have in my arsenal because I've done it before and I can compile and send it along. What the state chooses to do with it is up to them. But yeah, we're here to help and support.
What does a program like medical assisting costs? And are there any financial assistance programs?
Sure. So our current price for medical assisting is $3,360, and that includes your NHA exam, your externship. It includes everything. The only things that the students need to purchase or provide financially for besides that dollar amount is background check, drug screen, and vaccination. Like if you need titers or whatever, that's on the student. We don't provide that through the program. You will need those things in order to do your externship experience. The other thing is students purchase their own stethoscopes and blood pressure cuffs. So, which we talk about at the beginning of the program. You're going to want that anyway. It's kind of the tools of your trade, so to speak, to have your own nice stethoscope as opposed to a low end one. And so that's the cost is fairly minimal. We don't nickel and dime you, so there's no additional lab fees or any of those types of things.
Okay. So we've talked about cost. We've talked about, I guess, feeding into the next question of program and how it works. Is it 5 days a week? Is it 8 hours a day? How's it laid out?
So we meet 2 days a week, and every other week is a third day. So we have it's generally a Monday, Wednesday class with every other Thursday, as a recap study day, and some skills checks. So, it's 3 days a week, 3 hours a night. It's entirely an evening program for individuals that need to work during the day. You come for 3 hours of class, at night. And then, of course, there's time outside of class that's on your own for studying and, completing those components. Your externship is 80 hours. We give you a full 6 weeks to complete that. So recognizing that you're going to have to probably piecemeal that out. If you're a person who's currently working, you're not going to be able to do 2 full weeks in a clinic possibly. However, that's really what that time commitment is. Um, like I said, so many people, if they're already working in a clinic as a CNA, then they may be able to start sooner, like doing some of those skills assessments or whatever that might be with their employer. But it really is geared and designed for an individual who is still in the workforce and yet wants to change fields or expand and augment maybe their current.
That's fantastic. So not even 6 months of my life to better myself, improve my family.
Mhm.
I don't have to give up my current job at the moment, possibly toward the end of class when it's time for the externships. But at that point, I'm getting ready to go into the field anyway.
Yes.
And if I'm lucky, I may even land an externship with somebody who's going to hire me for a
Yep.
full-time job.
Yep. I was just gonna say that, oftentimes it's not uncommon for our students to get hired by the clinic that they do an externship in. I counsel students before they go into that externship experience and, like, pretend it's a job interview on steroids because it really is.
You heard that. Pay attention. So how do they register?
So if you're interested in registering, the best way to do it is over the phone, just so that we can answer any questions you might have. We have an interest form, and I will have James put that in the comment section where you can click on that interest form, and then Rachel will be in contact with you. Or you can call my office at 778-1236, and we'll get you in touch with the person you need to chat with.
Fantastic. We'll have that info down in the description. All right. Anything you would like anybody to know about medical assisting we haven't touched on at this point?
Just that medical is a growing industry, and medical assistants are become such an integral part of our medical practices, and so if you have any interest in going into medical, that this is really a great starting point.
So yeah, we're an aging society. Just look at me. Um, and obviously we're going to need more doctors, more nurses, more medical assistants. So if you have an interest in taking care of people, this is a great place to get started in the field.
Yep.
All right. Well, until next time, thank you for joining us on this episode of Beyond the Classroom. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.